All right, welcome back. So let's talk about something we all deal with. In our digital lives, when you actually need security advice, who do you trust? Is it that scary story a friend told you, or is it that lightning fast answer from an AI chatbot? Let's dig in and find out. I mean, really think about it for a second. You get one of those sketchy emails, or you hear about some new scam going around. What's your first instinct? Do you message a friend who knows about this stuff? Or do you pop open a new tab and ask an AI? Both seem like pretty good options, but as we're about to see, they come with some very, very different pros and cons. So on one hand, you've got the human touch, right? A personal warning, something that's often packed with emotion. And on the other, you've got the machine. It's instant, it's data-driven, and it seems to know everything. We're going to break down the research on both of these to figure out which one really does a better job of keeping you safe. Okay, first up, let's talk about the OG of security advice, just telling stories. I mean, for generations, we've learned about danger from hearing what happened to other people. And it turns out research shows this is still a super powerful force, even in our digital world. So what kinds of stories are we telling each other? Well, researchers took a look at hundreds of them, and they found three big themes kept coming up again and again. Social engineering, think phishing scams; hacking, like when a friend's social media gets completely taken over; and of course, those huge data bridges. See, these aren't just abstract ideas, they're personal, and that's the reason they stick with us. But what is it that makes these stories so effective? It's not just that they're scary. A huge 71% of the stories that people really remember had a clear lesson baked in. A "you should do this" or a "never ever do that." And that's what makes an anecdote turn into actual useful advice. And these stories, they feel incredibly real and serious. When people were asked to rate how serious the threat in the story was, on a scale of 1 to 5, the average was 4.1. That's a really high level of perceived danger, and it's exactly why these warnings grab our attention and just refuse to let go. And here is the absolute key. It's all about emotion. The research couldn't be clearer on this. Stories that make you feel fear or even anger are the ones that actually get you to change how you behave. That gut reaction, it's a seriously powerful motivator. All right, now let's flip the script and look at the new kid on the block, the AI security advisor. We've all got these large language models, these incredibly powerful tools right at our fingertips, and they promise to be the ultimate expert on, well, everything. You can see the appeal, right? An AI is there for you 24/7. It never gets tired of your questions, and it's been trained on just an unbelievable amount of information from the internet. On the surface, it seems like the perfect security advisor. But when researchers really put these AI models to the test, some pretty serious cracks started to show. Yeah, it turns out these AI models have some consistent and sometimes kinda dangerous blind spots. The researchers even came up with a catchy new term for one of the most common ways they mess up. We have all seen this. You ask a really specific question, and the AI starts its answer with, "Phishing is a type of social engineering attack where," and you're just sitting there thinking, "I know what phishing is, get to the point." The researchers call this LLM-splaining. And it's not just annoying, it can actually bury the important part of the answer you were looking for. And believe me, that's just the beginning of the problems. So the first huge arrow pattern is giving advice that's just old. All of major AIs they tested were still recommending things like changing your password every 90 days. But that's a practice that security experts at NIST advised against way back in 2017, because it just leads to people creating weaker passwords. They also consistently forgot to mention the real security risks of giving apps too many permissions. Then you've got this problem, overprescription. The AIs often talk like a sales brochure, promising that one tool is going to solve all your problems. For example, they'll say a VPN can protect you from phishing. Now, in reality, a VPN is great. It encrypts your internet traffic, but it does nothing to stop you from clicking a bad link and handing over your password. This gives you a totally false sense of security. Okay, this one is particularly dangerous. AIs love to tell you to look for the lock icon to know a site is safe. But that little lock, the HTTPS, all it means is that your connection to the site is encrypted. It says absolutely nothing about who actually owns the site. And guess what? The bad guys know this. Today, more than half of all phishing sites use that little lock icon specifically to trick you into trusting them. And sometimes the advice is just plain made up. The AI will confidently hallucinate the steps for how to change a setting. In this example, it's telling you to go to a preferences menu in the Safari browser. The only problem, that menu doesn't exist anymore. So for a regular user, this isn't just unhelpful, it's incredibly frustrating. It makes the advice literally impossible to follow. Okay, so after all that, seeing the AI's outdated advice, its overpromises, its straight-up hallucinations, it's pretty clear what the problem is. We've got these emotional, memorable human stories on one side, and these comprehensive but seriously flawed AI answers on the other. So where does that leave us? Well, the big takeaway isn't that you have to pick one over the other. It's that we need to change how we approach them both. So here's the side-by-side. Human stories, their strength is they're emotional, memorable, and have real context. But their weakness is that they're anecdotal and can be plain wrong. And AI advisors, they're instant and can pull from tons of data. But they often lack context, can be totally outdated, and as we've seen, they can just make stuff up. Clearly, neither one is the perfect solution. So this is the most important takeaway of all. Real online safety doesn't come from blindly trusting one source. It comes from us. It comes from our own ability to listen, to read, and most importantly, to think critically. It's all about building up our own knowledge so we can spot the bad advice no matter where it's coming from. So I'll leave you with this final thought. We started out asking which source to trust, the human story or the AI answer. But maybe the better question is this. Which one of them needs a fact check? Because as all this research shows, the real answer is always both of them. Thanks for tuning in.